And if your client will be making an appearance, I ask you to please introduce them to the court by giving me their full name and their honorific, such as Ms., Mix, or Mr. Mr. Casabi says this is voluntary. That's not true, and he knows it. He intentionally misled this committee. He uses directives like, please be sure to give the honorific. You can read the document for yourself. I would feel the same way if Mr. Casabi directed everyone in his court, and frankly, I could see him doing it, to stand up and give me your name and tell me about your race.
Wow, that was intense. I'm Audrey, and welcome back to Congress Lens. I have to say, watching Senator John Kennedy confront Mustafa Casabi here, it's hard not to be impressed. Kennedy doesn't hold back. He calls out the nominee's actions and potential bias in such a clear, direct way. This isn't just politics as usual. Kennedy is pointing out something that affects every American: the impartiality of our federal judges. Asking people to share their personal pronouns in court might seem small, but as Kennedy explains, it could put litigants in a difficult spot, forcing them to choose between their beliefs and gaining fair treatment. If you care about accountability in the judiciary, you're going to want to stick around for the full breakdown. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Congress Lens so you never miss a reaction that cuts through the noise.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I can do better than Senator Cotton, and I'll try not to repeat what he just said. Even a cursory examination of Mr. Casabi's record and his testimony before this committee, I think demonstrates to most fair-minded Americans that he is from the loon wing of the American bar. Now, that is his right as an American. You're not free if you can't express yourself. You're not free if you can't say what's on your mind. But it is clear to me, based, once again, on an examination of his record and his testimony, that Mr. Casabi is not qualified to be a federal judge because of his partiality. And I believe that his decisions will be filtered through his own political, social, and economic beliefs. Senator Cotton was very eloquent in giving you some specific examples. I want to give you one more. Mr. Casabi is a magistrate. He issued an order, not an oral directive, but an order to all employees in his court, to all witnesses in his court, and to all lawyers in his court, that they address the court in a specific way and that they include their preference for pronouns, which, as we all know, is a reflection of one's thoughts about gender. This is a copy of the order. I think everyone has a copy. This is what his written order directs, for example, to his criminal docket clerk. Quote, I'm quoting the order, not the suggestion, the order. Before calling the first case, give the general instruction, quote within quote, I'd like counsel to introduce themselves, giving me your full name and your honorific, such as Ms., Mix, or Mr. not Mrs., not Miss. And if your client will be making an appearance, I ask you to please introduce them to the court by giving me their full name and their honorific, such as Ms., Mix, or Mr. Mr. Casabi says this is voluntary. That's not true, and he knows it. He intentionally misled this committee. He uses directives like, please be sure to give the honorific. You can read the document for yourself. I would feel the same way if Mr. Casabi directed everyone in his court, and frankly, I could see him doing it, to stand up and give me your name and tell me about your race. I would feel the same way if Mr. Casabi issued a directive to tell everyone in his courtroom, you have to give your name and your religion. And you have to give me your feelings about Israel. And you have to give me your details about your ethnicity. And you have to give me details about your sexuality. All of the things that bring the issue of partiality to the forefront, Mr. President. I'm appalled that President Biden nominated this gentleman. Now, again, when I asked Mr. Casabi in committee, he said, oh, this is voluntary. Well, it's not. Here's the document. You can read it for yourself. And if he's confirmed, there will probably be more directives about how litigants and their lawyers and his court personnel have to address the court. But imagine, let's assume it is voluntary. Imagine you're a litigant whose property or liberty is at stake. And the man in front of you who is going to decide your fate tells you that he wants you to give your personal pronouns. And you don't want to do that. You'd rather not participate in that. You don't mind if others do it, but you personally don't want to do it. You've got to make a decision. Do I stick with my beliefs, or do I try to curry favor with this judge who's going to decide my freedom or make a decision about my freedom or my property? That is the classic definition of bias. And that, Mr. Chairman, will be why I'll be voting no on Mr. Casabi. I want to emphasize again, I'm not criticizing his beliefs. He's entitled to those beliefs. If you want to be a member of the loon wing of the Bar Association, that is your right as an American. But it doesn't give you the right to bring that bias to the federal bench. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Unfavorably reporting the nomination of Mustafa Casabi. Senator Lee is recognized.
All right, now that we've seen the full video, let's dive into what really stood out. Senator John Kennedy didn't just ask tough questions, he called out the core issue with Mustafa Casabi's nomination: bias. Kennedy made it clear that while Casabi is entitled to his personal beliefs, it's a different story when those beliefs might influence courtroom decisions. One of the most striking points was Kennedy highlighting Casabi's order requiring lawyers and witnesses to state their pronouns in court. Kennedy frames this as more than just an administrative detail. He shows that power dynamics in the courtroom could pressure people to comply, even if it conflicts with their personal beliefs. That's exactly the kind of subtle influence that shouldn't happen in a federal courtroom. Kennedy even drew a thought-provoking comparison. Imagine if a judge asked you to disclose your race, religion, or political beliefs before your case is heard. That's exactly the slippery slope he's warning about. Introducing personal ideology into legal proceedings compromises fairness. What I appreciate most is Kennedy's clarity. He isn't attacking Casabi personally, he respects Casabi's right to hold beliefs. But Kennedy makes it clear that bringing personal ideology into a role that demands impartiality is unacceptable. And honestly, that's a message that every American should hear. Judges aren't supposed to sway the scales of justice based on ideology, they are supposed to be neutral arbiters, and Kennedy is holding that line. At the end of the day, Kennedy's stance is about protecting litigants, protecting the law, and protecting fairness in our federal courts. Watching him lay it out so plainly and so unapologetically, I found myself agreeing with every point he made. If you want a federal judiciary that respects the rule of law and treats every American fairly, Kennedy's warnings here are something we cannot ignore. And that's exactly why I'm standing with him on this. So tell me what you think. Did Senator John Kennedy make a strong case against Mustafa Casabi? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more unfiltered congressional reactions, only here on Congress Lens.